Hey everyone, it's John from Bowstone Studios here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Happy Microphone Monday. For this week's microphone, we're still going to be focusing on low frequencies and kind of one of the oddball microphones that I have to capture low frequency sound, and that is the Avantone kind of sub KiCK. It's very similar to the Yamaha sub KiCK that came out, I think, in the 80s or so. The Yamaha NS10 speaker, which is what is inside of this drum shell, has been used since the NS10 came out in like the late 1970s as a kick drum microphone. So back in the day, they would take the microphone or the speaker out of the shell, wire it up backwards, and put it on a stand and put it in front of, say, a kick drum or a bass amp. Well, nowadays you can buy it in a kit like already put together. Yamaha used to make these, and then when Avantone took over for Yamaha as far as making the replacements for the NS10s, Avantone started making the sub KiCKs as well, and Yamaha no longer makes the sub KiCKs. But the microphone is essentially a NS10 woofer inside of a drum shell. It has a little XLR port on the side right here. It also has a hardware mount for like a three-legged drum stand that will hold it in front of a kick drum. And it technically has a figure of 8 pattern, which is kind of interesting. So it does pick up from the front and the back, as it is a woofer that is suspended. The microphone generally doesn't pick up much sound above, say, 300 hertz or so. I mean, you'll hear a very subtle amount of high end, but pretty much everything above 300 hertz is gone, and the microphone is really just going to capture 300 hertz and below. So it's really nice if you have a kick drum and you want a little extra like low end oomph to it. This will get you there. In my normal kind of configuration, rock band type setup, I'm going to put the Audix D6, which I went over last week, kind of towards the beater inside the drum shell. I'll put the Shure Beta 52 in the drum hole if it's a ported drum, and then I'll usually have the sub KiCK on the outside resonant head of the kick drum. That's normally where I place it. I only have one of them, so it's kind of a single use thing for me. If there are situations where I'm tracking a bass player after the drums have been recorded, so it's like an overdub bass session, I will stick it on a bass amp as well. It's kind of nice to have, again, some extra lows. I find myself using a low pass filter really aggressively with it as well, since there's not a lot of high frequency information. If you run an extreme filter on it and take out even more top end and move it down to, say, you only have like 80 hertz coming through on the microphone, I find that to be more useful. Whereas like the inside microphone would be of a kick drum would be handling more of the attack, and this would be handling the subs, and that kind of one that's in the hole is giving me just some air, kind of some soft air. So that's how I look at it. Other than that, it's pretty great. It is a single use kind of one trick pony. It's really just going to get you low end. If you need to record a bass amp, it's good for that. And also sometimes I'll use it on synthesizers if I'm doing a thing that involves like a synthesizer that is going to be mono, or if I'm going to use a synthesizer where I'm going to have it direct and have maybe an amp. I would also stick this on the subwoofer, especially in like an R&B hip hop thing where I want more lows. I find that sometimes direct synthesizers into like a Pro Tools rig or whatever, the whole sound is just a little too sterilized for me. So sometimes running it through a bass amp, or even I have a set of PA speakers I'll use sometimes, I'll run it through there and mic one of the woofers with that. Place that kind of woofer sound up the middle, and then do a spread on the high frequency stuff for a synthesizer. Sounds pretty good. So it's a little bit of a one trick pony. They're nice to have. I think they cost about $400 or so. You can find them used on the used market. You can find the Yamaha ones as well. Other than that, it's super durable. It sits in front of a kick drum. I've seen it knock over, those sorts of things. No durability issues with it. Sounds great. Does what it's supposed to do, which is give you a lot of low end, and it definitely gives you a ton. So that's the big thing with it. So if you just need a ton of low frequencies and nothing else, a sub KiCK, the Avantone flavor of the sub KiCK, or even just an NS10 or a 6-inch woofer wired backwards mounted on a speaker stand will work. I don't think the drum shell that it's in really plays too much of a sonic picture on it. It maybe helps accentuate the figure of 8 pattern because it is going to be rejecting a little bit from the sides, but the drum shell is more for aesthetics and also more for just kind of protection of the woofer. It gives it a hard shell in case it gets knocked over, those sorts of things. I don't think it has that much of an impact on the sound. So I've seen people use just an NS10 speaker on a small mic stand wired up, and to me it sounds pretty much identical. I do think this sounds pretty much identical to a Yamaha sub KiCK. I've had chances to use both side by side, which is kind of neat. If anything, for some reason, the Avantone ones seem to have more high frequency information than the original Yamahas. I swear, in my mind, whether my experience with the Yamahas, if the microphone was broken or something, but the Yamahas, it seemed like it was like 120 hertz and below is all you got. Whereas with the Avantone, I think you get about 300 or so, and then it starts to roll off. It could be because the Yamahas were older. It could have been a lot of different reasons why the Yamaha seems to have even less high frequency information. I also think the Yamaha drum shell was a little bit longer and a little bit tighter. It could be something like that. But regardless, they're both really capturing low end. So that's this week's Microphone Monday, the Avantone sub KiCK. I'll make sure to put this out on my YouTube channel as well as on Instagram, and I have some other content coming too about mixing a few songs that we're getting ready to put out. I'll probably be dropping later this week on YouTube. So if you didn't have a chance, please like, share, and subscribe for the YouTube channel, and I'll see everyone next week. All right.